Hey, let's do some more questions for atheists. Won't that be fun? Honestly, I enjoy these things because it's fun to see where the misconceptions of the religious lie. Where do they go ridiculously wrong? Because they tend to go ridiculously wrong a lot. So let's take a look at some more of that coming up next. Here comes Braxton Hunter again. He's put out a number of questions for atheist videos, and I've answered all of them, so I'm going to do it again. I don't see any reason why we should stop now, so here we go. Now, I don't remember, and honestly, I don't feel like looking it up, but it seems that previous videos have had 10 questions, and this one only has 5. If anybody wants to correct me in the comments, please feel free because I'm not going to go look. Maybe that means that these are better questions. One can only hope so. So, without further ado, let's get to it.
In 2020, I had 10 questions for atheists.
I guess I was right. After doing as much as I've done, it's hard to remember them all, but hey, good for me, right? So yes, in 2020, you had 10 questions for atheists, and I answered them all, and at least in my opinion, those questions were terrible. But then again, so are all questions for atheists, especially since most of them are just repeats of things that other theists have already asked in the past. I know I've pointed this out that it's like there's a list on a website someplace that they're all drawing from, and they're all just picking their favorites. Hopefully this time will be better. We can only wait and see.
And the response was pretty big. I put my reaction to the videos that atheists made in response to it into a playlist on this channel that you can check out. And I still get answers to those questions to this day. But now, as 2025 is upon us, I've got 5 questions for atheists in 2025.
Cool, let's get to them. Now, I think there was another questions for atheists video in there somewhere, because I'm pretty sure I've done more than one of these since the initial 10, but again, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong because this all starts to run together. I have yet to see a single theist who has asked any really good questions, things that couldn't be easily answered with a simple Google search. And that's kind of a problem, don't you think? At least I think it is. You can let me know in the comments if you think so too. So, enough with the lead up already. Let's get to the questions.
Given certain events and current debates in the worldview discussion arena. If you're an atheist, I want to know what your answer is to these questions. So let's just jump right in.
Before that, and yes, I am delaying it a little bit, but honestly, I'm not sure why there are so many questions when the answers always seem so painfully obvious to me. Now, granted, that could be because I'm on this side of the theological divide and they're on the other, but I don't honestly have a lot of questions for the religious. I get where they're coming from, and I can read them generally like a book, so I don't have to keep coming up with questions for them because I know pretty much what they're going to say. It's very rare when I get thrown for a loop, and you'd think that somebody who spends their time online talking to atheists, you'd think they would understand this stuff, right? Of course, he's just looking for content for the mill, so I guess I'm game. So please, let's get to it.
Question 1. Cameron Bertuzzi over at Capturing Christianity recently caused a lot of controversy by saying he no longer takes atheism seriously.
Cameron Bertuzzi is an idiot. Now, I purposely didn't respond to that video. I saw it go by and I ignored it because Cameron Bertuzzi has gone completely off the reservation. I no longer care about anything that Cameron has to say because I can't even take him seriously anymore. He doesn't know what atheism is and he doesn't care. He's had it explained to him on numerous occasions and he's just ignored it and gone right back to his own lunatic bullshit. He is not remotely an honest interlocutor. Therefore, Cameron Bertuzzi can go and fuck himself. I doubt I'll ever do another one of his videos because he is not going to pay attention. He's only after money and influence, and fuck anybody who's doing that. But I guess we have to see what point he's going to make, since this is a springboard, not a direct Cameron load of horseshit. So go right ahead, Braxton. Ask something worthwhile.
The reason why I don't take atheism seriously any longer is because even if we accept the atheist's strongest argument, it still wouldn't prove atheism.
But atheism isn't making any claims. This is why Cameron is such a complete douche nozzle. He knows this, but he's just pandering to his ignorant religious audience. We don't have to have arguments because we're not making claims. We're not saying there are no gods. We're saying that you have not proven your case. Because you haven't. But he has to have some kind of response to the rise of atheism, and this is what he's chosen to do. Lie. I'm not going to deal with bald-faced liars because I have no respect for them. Atheism isn't a worldview. Atheism isn't a belief system. Atheism isn't a religion. Anyone who pretends that any of that is true is full of shit. And Cameron has got shit coming out of his ears. So fuck you, Cameron. Now, with that being said, let's see what Braxton wants to know.
We have these really powerful arguments, at least from our perspective.
And your perspective sucks. Because you'll make the arguments, we will rip them to shreds, and you will just repeat them over and over again verbatim. It's like you're not even listening. Because you're not. The simple fact is that they don't care because they're not after the truth. They just really want it to be true. And the second that a theist pulls that one, they go straight into the dishonest interlocutor box with people like Cameron. You don't have good arguments at all. You've got shit arguments that you accept based on blind faith and fifis only because they stroke your ego. If there was an honest, intelligent theist out there somewhere, one that presented their arguments, and the second that those arguments got shot down, they stopped using that argument ever again, I'd be shocked. Then again, I don't think they'd be a theist for long, would they? Your arguments are all trash. They have all been soundly debunked. The only reason that you cling to them is because they get you where you want to go. And that is not a sign of intellectual integrity. It makes you look like an idiot.
On the theist side, like arguments from fine-tuning,
which isn't an argument, it's a claim. And it's a laughable claim at best. They are looking at things from a ludicrous, completely unrealistic perspective. Now, yes, I know that I'm jumping in here a lot because I think Braxton deserves to be shown where every single one of his assertions are wrong. Not that I think he cares, but he deserves to be shown. Here's the reality. The universe is how it is. We arose out of the way the universe was. We were not the intentional goal of it. We are the product of the universe, not something that was planned the whole time. That's where they are going wrong. They are making assumptions that are simply not defensible or demonstrable. I want you to show me how you got there, and you simply can't. That's because they are starting with a conclusion that they came to for entirely emotional reasons, and that betrays their irrationality. Whereas we are starting with evidence, and that doesn't coddle their fifis, and that's the childish part of the whole thing. I want to see how you got there, not what you believe, not what you wish was true. I want to see your chain of evidence, and they don't have one. Just looking at the real world proves the whole thing is just bullshit. Life cannot demonstrably exist anywhere else in the universe, at least not that we've seen yet. This little ball of dirt is it, based on the evidence that we currently have. How does that make anything fine-tuned for life? Braxton, please explain. Because these claims just fall apart the instant you actually take a look at them. Not that the religious give a damn, because they just really want to believe. But wanting to believe doesn't make it true. That's the problem.
But yes, there are arguments on the other side that are meant to show that it's unlikely God exists.
But that's not how this works. You have the burden of proof since you are making all the claims. Remember, we're not, and we don't have to. All we're doing is proving that your claims are wrong and completely indefensible. Claim falsified. Move on to something else. But they can't do that, can they? Because, like I said before, an honest theist, they would get their claim refuted and then they'd stop making that claim. But that doesn't happen with most theists, does it? It's the same old tired bullshit that gets trotted out again and again and again because they've got nothing else. They know they've got nothing else, but they can't change their minds because they weren't using their minds in any way to begin with. They just really want it to be true, and we all know how pointless that is. So we really need to stop them and say, dude, you're full of shit. If they're worthwhile, they'll stop believing this crap. If they don't, then they're not worthwhile. I don't know a lot of theists that I've ever run into that have actually done that. These people are not intellectually honest. Not at all.
Or that God does not exist, like arguments from evil or divine hiddenness arguments.
Those are not arguments that God doesn't exist. Those are arguments showing just how irrational your conception is of your God. They're not arguments against God. They're arguments against your unsupported claims about your God. Your claims are not justifiable in reality. You don't just get to make up some shit in your head that you like, because that's not how intelligence works. How did you come to that conclusion that your God had any of these omni-properties? Because when evaluated rationally, those claims don't make any sense. We can evaluate your claims and compare them to reality, and they all fall apart completely. That's a problem for your side. Not that you seem to care, because you just keep doing the same thing.
They just keep saying the same thing. They just keep saying the same thing.
Yes, sir.
They just keep saying the same thing.
We are asking for your proof, and you don't have any. We are asking you to justify your assertions, and you can't do it. And that's kind of a problem, don't you think?
And so this puts us in an interesting spot. We've got arguments for and against.
No, you don't. You have claims for and people ripping your unsupported claims to shreds and you refusing to give it up because you really wish it was true. This is where you are going wrong. It's not us, it's you. You don't even understand what's going on. But it sounds good to me is irrelevant. We are all in this world together. How do you show me that the claims that you are making are factually correct using something that I can objectively examine on my own? Because I don't trust you. You've proven yourselves to be completely uncritical and irrational. This is just you spouting shit out of your asshole, and we're asking, how in the hell do you know that? Present your evidence in such a way that we can verify what you're saying without having to believe what you believe first. And they can't do it no matter how many times we ask. This shouldn't be as hard to understand as apparently it is.
But as Philip Goff suggested recently, perhaps you have a God of limited power. This would mean you have really powerful arguments from God on the theist side, like the fine-tuning arguments, but then the arguments from evil and divine hiddenness no longer become powerful arguments for atheism.
But they're still not arguments for atheism because atheism is making no claims. These people are so ludicrously clueless that I don't even know what to say to them anymore. I guess we have to let the whole powerful arguments for theism thing go, since we've already dismantled that one. But the problem here, as I've said before, the two sides aren't even after the same thing. They want comfort, we want truth. They have no truth, at least not that they can demonstrate, and we don't give a damn about their comfort. Never the two sides are going to meet because we're not even speaking the same language. We do not have the same goals. What they're spouting is not going to change our minds, and us pointing out how irrational their beliefs are, that's not going to make them any smarter. So we're kind of at an impasse here, but it's not our fault. It's theirs. We expect them to come up to our level where evidence and rationality matter, and we're sure the hell not going to go down to theirs. I don't really know what to do with this, do you?
Instead, what they are arguments for a limited God, but not arguments for no God.
No, they're not arguments about any gods at all. All you're doing is saying, we believe in X, and we're asking you to show us why. Instead, all they can do is just repeat the claim over and over and over again verbatim. We believe in X doesn't prove anything. It just proves you're an idiot. This is not evidence. It's like them saying, I have a fire-breathing dragon in my garage. Prove it. But I have a fire-breathing dragon in my garage. Sorry, that's not evidence. That's a claim. You've got to back that claim up if you want us to take you seriously. All we can do is show where your claims are completely unsupported, but you don't seem to care about that, and that's your problem, not ours. You are the ones with the piss-poor epistemology. We can only show where you fail. We can't make you care about your own stupidity. That's kind of the problem. That's why you get laughed at, because you can't figure out where you're going wrong. And we're telling you exactly where you're going wrong. But you don't care, do ya?
And so there's no reason to take atheism seriously, someone might decide. So the question is Cameron wrong? And if so, why is he wrong?
I've already given it to you. He's wrong, you're wrong, Frank Turek is wrong, William Lane Craig is wrong. You're all wrong because you have a shit epistemological standard. That's the problem. But I like it. So what? Nobody cares what you like. We care what you can demonstrate is actually the case in objective reality. That's why we keep asking for evidence, not arguments, not claims, and you don't have anything. Or your arguments are shit because they don't demonstrate the things that you purport them to demonstrate. And that's also kind of a problem, right? You need to show us your fire-breathing dragon, and you can't do it. You just claim to know it's real. Okay, how do you know? We just do. Can you see why this is not impressive? Obviously not, because we've explained this time and time again, and you people can't get it through your heads. I wouldn't say if you could figure it out, but you can't, because you don't care. This is all fifis and faith, and that's irrelevant to anything that exists in the real world. It doesn't matter what you believe, it matters what you can prove. And you people can't prove anything except that you're all a bunch of dipshits. This is why you have problems. This is why you don't get anywhere. You fundamentally misunderstand the discussion going on. This is why we need to stop playing these stupid games with these people, because it's just not productive. Call them out. But they won't respond because they don't care. They're too busy living in these ridiculous fantasy worlds in their heads that they really, really like. And none of that is a good thing. It is not now, and it never will be. Knock it off! Honestly, we're going to call it a day after that one, because that was one of the most absurd questions around. These people fundamentally misunderstand the problem because they are the problem. Their lack of rationality and critical thinking is the problem, and they couldn't care less. There is a fundamental disconnect going on between the ears of pretty much every theist out there. We don't care if you really want to believe it. We care if the things that you're spouting are demonstrably true. You say it is, but how do you know that? And better yet, how do you prove that to anyone else? That's why this whole thing looks and smells like a scam, because that's exactly what it is. Now, granted, you might be duped, but that again is your problem. And if you refuse to accept your own failure to ask rational questions and follow the evidence where it leads, that's your problem too, isn't it? I'm still waiting to get to anything that isn't your fault. Seriously, this isn't how I wanted this video to turn out. I was hoping to do probably 2. But now, if this is any indication of how things are going to go, this might be one video ripping apart his questions and his preconceptions for every single question that he has. And now I'm kind of committed to doing the whole thing because I've made one, I kind of have to make the rest. Joy. So, what do you think of his first question? Go ahead and rant in the comments. I'd love to have an intelligent conversation with the religious, but they are so unbelievably stupid and ignorant that I honestly don't know what to say. It would be one thing if they could look objectively at their own beliefs, but they can't. It's like a child that's desperate to believe that Santa Claus is real because they want presents. What are you going to say to that? I honestly don't know anymore. Someone, please give me a solution down in the comments because I am completely at a loss.